What happens when one of Hollywood's most enigmatic actors walks onto a daytime talk show stage and refuses to play by the usual rules? What happens when polite conversation transforms into a battle of wits that leaves an entire studio audience speechless? The tension in the room becomes so thick you could cut it with a knife, and what unfolds is a confrontation that nobody saw coming. Before we dive into this incredible exchange, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling me whose side you're on in this debate. Because trust me, you're going to have an opinion by the end of this. The studio lights are blazing hot as Johnny Depp settles into his chair on the View set, the audience still applauding his entrance. The other hosts offer welcoming smiles, but Joy Behar leans forward with a look that suggests she has been waiting for this moment. There is an energy in the air, something electric and unpredictable. "So Johnny," Joy begins, her voice carrying that signature edge, "let's talk about your recent projects. But more importantly, let's talk about accountability. You have been through quite a public ordeal over the past few years. Do you think you have truly taken responsibility for your actions?" The audience shifts uncomfortably. This is not the softball question anyone expected right out of the gate. Johnny's expression barely changes. He takes a measured breath and responds with deliberate calm. "Joy, I appreciate the direct approach. I really do. But I think what you are asking me to do is confess to a narrative that was written about me, not by me. Accountability is important. I agree with that completely. But accountability for what, exactly? For defending myself? For refusing to be silent when I was being accused of things that were not true?" Joy does not miss a beat. "But Johnny, there were text messages. There was evidence presented in court. Are you saying that none of that reflected poorly on you? That you are completely blameless in everything that happened?" "I am saying," Johnny replies, his voice steady but gaining an edge, "that text messages written in private moments of frustration do not define who a person is. I am saying that the court of public opinion decided I was guilty before I ever had a chance to present my side. And I am saying that you, right now, are doing exactly what was done to me for years, which is assuming the worst and asking me to apologize for it." One of the other hosts tries to interject, attempting to lighten the mood, but Joy raises a hand slightly, her focus locked on Johnny. "I am not assuming anything," Joy counters, her tone sharpening. "I am asking you to reflect on your behavior. There is a difference between defending yourself and taking responsibility for the parts of your life that maybe were not so great. Can you honestly sit here and tell me you have no regrets about how you handled things?" Johnny leans back slightly, his eyes never leaving Joy's. "Of course I have regrets. I regret trusting people who betrayed me. I regret not speaking up sooner when lies were being spread. I regret that I did not protect my own reputation better. But what I do not regret is finally standing up and saying, enough is enough. You want me to grovel, to perform some kind of public penance, and I am not going to do that. Not for you, not for anyone." The studio audience is silent now, the tension palpable. Joy's co-hosts exchange glances, unsure whether to step in or let this play out. Joy herself seems almost energized by the pushback. "Nobody is asking you to grovel, Johnny. But there is something called humility. There is something called recognizing that maybe, just maybe, you were not a perfect angel in all of this. Why is that so hard for you to admit?" "Because," Johnny says, his voice dropping lower, more intense, "admitting to something I did not do would be a lie. And I spent too many years being lied about to start lying about myself now. You want humility? Here is some humility for you. I am a flawed human being. I have made mistakes in my life. I have said things I wish I could take back. But being flawed does not make me an abuser. Being imperfect does not mean I deserved what happened to me. And sitting here, being interrogated by you, like I am on trial again, is not something I am going to tolerate quietly." Joy leans forward even more, her expression hardening. "Interrogated? Johnny, This is a conversation. This is what happens when you come on a talk show. People ask you questions. If you cannot handle that, maybe you should not be here. Oh, I can handle it, Johnny fires back immediately. What I cannot handle is the hypocrisy. You sit here, in this seat of judgment, acting like you have never made a mistake, never said something you regretted, never been unfair to someone. But the difference between us is that when I was unfairly judged, I fought back. I did not just accept the narrative, and that seems to bother you more than anything I actually did or did not do. The audience reacts with a mixture of gasps and murmurs. One of the co-hosts tries again to redirect the conversation, suggesting they take a commercial break, but Joy waves her off. You know what bothers me, Johnny? What bothers me is when powerful men play the victim. What bothers me is when someone with every advantage in the world acts like they are the one who has been wronged. When there are real victims out there who do not have your platform, your resources, your ability to fight back. That is what bothers me. Johnny's jaw tightens, but his voice remains controlled, almost eerily calm. And there it is. That is the real issue, is it not? I am a man, so I cannot possibly be a victim. I am successful, so I cannot possibly have been hurt. I have a platform, so I should just shut up and take whatever is thrown at me. That is the logic you are operating under, Joy. And it is as prejudiced as anything you claim to stand against. Joy's eyes flash. Do not twist my words. I never said men cannot be victims. I said that you, specifically, playing the victim when you have so much power is hard to stomach. There is a difference. Is there? Johnny challenges. Because from where I am sitting, it sounds like you have already decided what kind of person I am, and nothing I say here is going to change your mind. You brought me on this show not to have a conversation, but to make an example of me, to show your audience that you are tough, that you hold people accountable, but accountability only works when it is fair, when it is honest. And this is neither. The tension in the studio has reached a fever pitch. The other hosts look genuinely distressed, unsure how to salvage what has become an all-out confrontation. Joy, however, seems almost pleased with how things are unfolding, as if this is exactly what she wanted. You think you are the first guest who has not liked my questions? You think you are the first person to accuse me of being unfair? I have been doing this for decades, Johnny. I have interviewed presidents, world leaders, celebrities, far more famous than you. And you know what they all had in common? They could handle the heat. They did not sit here and whine about being picked on. Johnny's expression shifts, something darker flickering across his features. Whine? Is that what you think this is? Joy? I have been through hell. I have had my name dragged through the mud, my career nearly destroyed, my personal life dissected by millions of people who do not know me, and I came through it. I survived it. So no, I am not whining. I am standing up to you, the same way I stood up to everyone else who tried to tear me down. And if that makes you uncomfortable, that is your problem, not mine. Joy sits back for just a moment, recalibrating. The audience is completely silent now, hanging on every word. She crosses her arms and fixes Johnny with a hard stare. You want to talk about being torn down? Let's talk about the women in this industry who have been torn down for decades, who did not have the luxury of a defamation trial, who did not have millions of dollars to spend on lawyers. Where was your voice for them, Johnny? Where was your outrage when they were being silenced? Johnny does not hesitate. I have always supported people who have been genuinely wronged. Always. But what you are doing right now is using other people's suffering to justify what happened to me, and that is not fair to them or to me. Their pain does not erase mine. Their struggles do not mean I should just accept being falsely accused. This is not a competition of who suffered more. This is about truth. Truth, Joy repeats, almost mockingly. Your truth. But what about her truth? What about the people who saw things differently than you did? Are they all liars? Are they all wrong, and you are the only one who knows what really happened? I never said anyone was a liar except the person who lied about me, Johnny responds, his voice growing colder. I never said everyone was wrong. I said that I was telling the truth about my own experiences, my own life. And yes, Joy, I am the only one who knows what I experienced. Just like you are the only one who truly knows what you have experienced. But the difference is, I am not sitting here telling you that your experiences are invalid because they do not fit my narrative. One of the other hosts finally manages to break in. Maybe we should talk about your upcoming projects, Johnny. I know you have some exciting things in the works. But Joy is not done. No, I want to finish this. Johnny, you keep talking about truth and fairness, but the reality is that a lot of people looked at the evidence and came to conclusions you did not like. That is not unfair. That is just how the world works. Not everyone is going to see things your way. You are absolutely right, Johnny agrees, surprising everyone. Not everyone is going to see things my way, but that does not mean I should stay silent. That does not mean I should just accept being vilified. You know what the real problem is, Joy? People like you have decided that certain people are allowed to defend themselves, and certain people are not. And I happen to fall into the category of people who, in your mind, should just shut up and take it. But I am not going to do that. I am never going to do that again. Joy's face flushes slightly, her composure cracking just a bit. People like me? What exactly does that mean, Johnny? It means people who have made up their minds before hearing all the facts. People who are more interested in reinforcing their worldview than actually seeking the truth. People who use their platform to bully others into submission and then call it accountability. That is what I mean by people like you. The audience gasps again. This has gone beyond uncomfortable and entered territory that talk shows rarely venture into. The producers are likely panicking, but the cameras keep rolling. Joy's co-hosts look genuinely shocked. Bully? Joy's voice rises. You were calling me a bully? That is rich, coming from someone who has had multiple people say that you were difficult to work with, that you had problems on set, that you were not always easy to be around. But I am the bully for asking you questions? Being difficult to work with and being an abuser are two completely different things, Johnny shoots back. And yes, I am calling you a bully, because that is exactly what you are doing right now. You are using your position, your platform, to attack someone who came here in good faith. You are twisting everything I say, putting words in my mouth and acting like you have some moral high ground. But you do not, Joy. You are just another person with a microphone who thinks that gives you the right to tear people down. Joy stands up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. The audience audibly reacts. The other hosts freeze, unsure what is happening. Joy points at Johnny. You do not get to come on my show and talk to me like that. You do not get to sit there and act like you are some kind of martyr when people have legitimate questions about your behavior. I have been doing this job for longer than you have been famous, and I have never been spoken to this way by a guest. Johnny remains seated, utterly calm, despite Joy standing over him. His voice is quiet, but cuts through the studio like a blade. Then maybe it is about time someone did. Maybe it is about time someone told you that asking questions is not the same as having a predetermined conclusion. Maybe it is about time someone pointed out that you are not interested in conversation, you are interested in confrontation. You brought me here to... He turns to leave again, and this time one of the other hosts, clearly moved by what she has just witnessed, speaks up. Johnny, wait, please. I think maybe we all need to take a breath here. This got heated, and maybe there is still a chance to have a real conversation. Johnny pauses, looking at her. There is genuine sincerity in her eyes, and he seems to consider it for a moment. He glances at Joy, who is still standing, her arms crossed defensively. The studio is holding its collective breath. I appreciate that, Johnny says to the other host. I really do, But I think Joy has made it pretty clear how she feels about me, and I have made it clear how I feel about being ambushed. So unless something fundamentally changes in the next 30 seconds, I think we are done here. Joy finally speaks again, her voice quieter now but still defiant. I did not ambush you. I asked you legitimate questions that people want answers to. If you cannot handle that, then maybe you are not as strong as you think you are. Johnny laughs, but there is no humor in it. You still do not get it, do you? This was never about whether I could handle your questions. I can handle anything you throw at me, Joy. I have been through worse than you could ever imagine. This is about respect. This is about basic human decency. You did not ask me questions. You attacked me. You came at me with an agenda, with a predetermined narrative, and when I did not give you what you wanted, you tried to shame me into compliance. That is not journalism. That is not holding anyone accountable. That is just cruelty dressed up as righteousness. Another co-host chimes in, her voice careful. Johnny, I think what Joy is trying to say is that there are people who were hurt in all of this, and they deserve to have their experiences validated too. And I have never said they do not, Johnny responds, his tone softening slightly when addressing her. Never. But validating someone else's pain should not require invalidating mine. That is the point I have been trying to make this entire time. Joy wants me to choose between defending myself and acknowledging that other people have suffered. But that is a false choice. Both things can be true. I can be someone who went through something terrible, and other people can have gone through terrible things too. It is not either or. It is and. Joy sits back down, but her expression is still hard. Fine. Let me ask you this then. Do you think you are the victim in all of this? Do you genuinely believe that you have been more wronged than anyone else involved in your situation? Johnny walks back to his chair and sits down. The audience shifts, surprised that he is staying. He looks at Joy directly, and when he speaks, his voice is measured and deliberate. I do not rank suffering, Joy. I do not sit around comparing my pain to other people's pain to see who wins. What I know is this. I was accused of things I did not do. I was vilified in the press. I lost work. I lost friendships. I lost time with my children because people believed lies about me. That is my experience. That is my truth. Whether that makes me the biggest victim or the smallest victim is irrelevant. It happened. And I have every right to talk about it without being told I should shut up because someone else might have had it worse. But you won your trial, Joy counters. You got vindication. You got your moment in court. So why are you still so angry? Why are you still fighting? Because winning a trial does not undo the damage, Joy. It does not erase the years of people thinking I was a monster. It does not bring back the opportunities I lost. It does not repair the relationships that were destroyed. Winning a trial is not the same as winning your life back. And the fact that you think it is shows how little you understand about what I have been through. Joy's expression shifts slightly, something flickering across her face that might be understanding, or might just be exhaustion. So what do you want? What would make this better for you? I want exactly what I said before, Johnny replies. I want people to think for themselves. I want people to stop letting talk show hosts and tabloids tell them who I am. I want the space to rebuild my life without constantly being reminded of the worst moments of it. And I want people like you to recognize that you do not have all the answers, that you do not know everything about everyone, and that maybe, just maybe, you should approach people with a little more compassion and a little less judgment. The studio is quiet again, but this time it feels different. The anger has dissipated slightly, replaced by something more contemplative. One of the co-hosts speaks up again. I think that is fair, Johnny. I think we all could probably use a little more compassion in how we talk to each other and about each other. Joy looks at her co-host, then back at Johnny. She takes a deep breath, and for the first time since this interview began, she seems genuinely uncertain about what to say next. Look, Joy begins, her voice less combative now. I am not going to sit here and say I was wrong to ask you tough questions. That is my job. But maybe I could have approached it differently. Maybe I let my own feelings about certain issues color how I came at you. I do not know. I am not going to apologize for doing my job, but I can acknowledge that this got out of hand. Johnny nods slowly. That is closer to what I was hoping for. Not an apology, because I do not need that, but an acknowledgement that this was not a fair conversation. That you came in with your mind made up. That is all I wanted. Some honesty. And you? Joy says, pointing at him again but less aggressively this time. You came in here ready for a fight too. Do not act like you were some innocent lamb. You knew what you were getting into when you agreed to come on this show. Johnny actually smiles a little at that. You are right. I did. But I was hoping to be proven wrong. I was hoping that maybe we could surprise each other. And in a weird way, maybe we did. Just not in the way either of us expected. Another co-host laughs nervously, relieved that the temperature in the room has dropped slightly. So, where do we go from here? Can we actually have a conversation now? Or is this interview over? Johnny looks at Joy, waiting for her response. She looks back at him, and something unspoken passes between them. It is not friendship, not even close, but it is a recognition that they are both human beings who pushed each other to their limits. We can try, Joy says finally, but I am not going to pretend like I suddenly agree with everything you said. I still have my opinions. And I would not want you to pretend. Johnny responds, I do not need you to agree with me. I just need you to treat me like a person instead of a symbol of whatever you think is wrong with the world. Can you do that? Joy considers this for a moment, then nods. I can try. That is all anyone can ask for, Johnny says. The conversation continues, still tense but no longer explosive. They talk about his career, about the industry, about the challenges of public life. Joy asks pointed questions, but they are questions now rather than attacks. Johnny answers honestly, sometimes defensively, but without the same edge. The audience begins to relax, though everyone remains acutely aware of how close this came to complete disaster. As the segment winds down, Joy looks at Johnny one more time. You know, I still do not agree with you about everything. I still think there are things you are not seeing clearly. But I respect that you stood your ground. Not a lot of people would have done that. And I respect that you are willing to admit this did not go the way you planned, Johnny replies. That takes more courage than most people have. They shake hands, awkwardly, as the cameras prepare to cut. The audience applauds, uncertain if they are applauding a reconciliation or just relieved that it is over. Johnny stands, and this time when he walks off the stage, it is without drama, without anger, just exhaustion. The other hosts watch him go, then look at Joy. She sits back in her chair, visibly drained. One of them leans over and whispers something to her, but the microphones do not pick it up. Joy just nods, staring at the empty chair where Johnny was sitting moments before. What started as a routine celebrity interview turned into something nobody expected, a raw, unfiltered confrontation about truth, accountability, and the way we judge each other. Whether you think Johnny was right to push back so hard, or whether you think Joy was just doing her job, one thing is certain. This was television that nobody will forget anytime soon. It was a reminder that behind the fame, behind the personas, behind the carefully crafted public images, there are real people with real pain. And sometimes, when those people collide, the result is something that cuts through all the noise and forces us to actually pay attention. So what did you think? Was Johnny right to stand his ground? Or did he take it too far? Was Joy just doing her job? Or did she cross a line? Hit that subscribe button if you are not already subscribed, and drop a comment below with your honest opinion. Who do you think won this confrontation? Because after watching that, I guarantee you have thoughts, and I want to hear every single one of them. This is the kind of moment that makes you remember why we tune into these shows in the first place. Not for the polished sound bites, not for the scripted moments, but for those rare instances when something real breaks through. And this was as real as it gets.